Some time ago, before the King of Hyrule unified this country, there was a fierce war in our world. Greetings and welcome. Well, this week we have a really interesting theory to discuss. You guys have voted in the last video, so this theory will be about the Hyrulean Civil War. However, before I go on with this theory, if you haven't watched my Shadow Temple theory, I would highly recommend watching that first, since you'll probably have a better understanding of what I have to say here. Moving on to the Hyrulean Civil War, or the Unification War, is an event in Zelda lore that occurs shortly before the events of Ocarina of Time. Prior to the events of the war, Hyrule was said to be content as multiple independent tribes. However, a war ensued. It was heavily implied that this war was for the entry into the Sacred Realm and obtaining the Triforce. The losers of this war has been speculated to be the Interlopers. However, whatever the case might be, the end is clear. After the events of the war, Hyrule was unified under the banner of the Hylian Royal family. Now, before I get into my personal theory about this, let me discuss the motives of this event. War or conflict always have motives. The catalyst of this particular war seems to be the existence of the Sacred Realm and the Triforce. And from several passages and cutscenes found in several games, we can infer that multiple independent tribes of Hyrule fought over the Triforce. However, it may not be over greed. For example, one particular tribe may have wanted control over the Triforce just to defend their own people. And let's say, for example, if a rival tribe got into the possession of the Triforce, all of their enemies would likely to succumb to them. This paradigm of unchecked power pretty much sent Hyrule into the verge of complete chaos and disorder as tribes were scrambling to defend themselves. However, we must see the beneficiaries of the war to see real motives. More often than not, the victors are the ones who write history. It is clear that the Hylians won this war. In addition, they had the most to benefit from the conflict. The Hylians became the dominant race in Hyrule and expanded its influence. Now let's see the losers of this war. Now, due to passages shown from various games, in addition with my own educated inferences, those who lost were the Interlopers. To give a brief backstory of the Interlopers, this particular group of individuals excelled in sorcery, and from the passages we can infer that they were on the precipice of winning the conflict. However, the Light Spirits intervened and sealed them away into the Twilight Realm, where they have regressed into the Twilight race. Now, who are these people? Who were the Interlopers originally? Well, we do know the conflict occurred before the events of Ocarina of Time, which indicated that a group of people must have suddenly disappeared after the events of the war. And judging from all the races in Hyrule, which one is the likely candidate? You guessed it, the disappearance of the Sheikah tribe. As you may have already recalled from my previous theory, I went through the possibility that a splinter group of the Sheikah tribe broke off and waged war against the Hylians. The man at the helm of this insurrection was Bongo, or the man who sees the truth. Eventually, the insurrection was put down, and Impa later imprisoned and tortured Bongo in the bottom of the well. Now, in my previous theory, I speculated that the Sheikah broke into two and fought against each other. The result caused a Sheikah genocide, making Impa the sole survivor. However, doesn't that seem a bit too clean-cut to you? Even if the Sheikah dealt with its own insurrection, surely there would have been more survivors than just Impa. But what exactly happened? Why did the Sheikah race just disappear? Well, I believe I already answered your question. During the cutscene with Lanayru, it was discovered that the Light Spirits sealed away the magic of the Interlopers, which is the fused shadow. Eventually, these same people were banished away into the Twilight Realm and digressed into the Twilight. It is the most logical possibility that these same Interlopers were the same Sheikah insurrectionists led by Bongo to obtain the Triforce. Evidence to this fact lays in the power they created known as the fused shadow. Considering the symbology of all the races in Hyrule, there's only one that signifies with the eye symbol, which is again the Sheikah. The Sheikah are also known as the Shadow Folk. Creating the fused shadow does seem appropriate. Bongo, or the man who sees the truth, along with other Sheikah deserters, may have created the fused shadow to obtain the Triforce. However, I already sense questions from you guys. If Bongo did create and or help to create the fused shadow, then why isn't he sealed away in the Twilight Realm? It has been noted that he is sealed in the bottom of the well in Kakariko. Well, I appreciate your cunning observation. During Lanayru's cutscene, it was specifically noted that the magic the Interlopers were using was sealed away, not necessarily the actual people. In a real war environment, if this happened, the Interlopers would have been completely helpless. For example, let's say a guy with an assault rifle was holding 100 people hostage. Let's say if the assault rifle suddenly disappeared, what would happen? The man would be overwhelmed by the ensuing mob. A similar event may have happened. Once the Hylians and the other Hyrulean tribes found out that the Interlopers were defenseless, the races rushed in and defeated the Interlopers. However, not all of them were killed. evident to the fact that the Twilight race still exists. So this means survivors of the Interlopers managed to escape. Many of the more prominent members of the group, for example Bongo, was captured, tortured, and executed. These same people were plunged from their home in Kakariko. The only remaining history of the bloody war lays within the Shadow Temple, which tells of the long-forgotten history. The only remaining piece of their lost power remains in the one piece of the few shadow they managed to keep. Scorned and persecuted, these Sheikah deserters or Interlopers were banished into the Twilight Realm. But how did they get into the Twilight Realm? Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Sheikah Interloper mass exodus theory. Due to the ensuing violence against these people as noted within the Shadow Temple and in the bottom of the well, these Sheikah deserters or Interlopers were chased and banished into the Twilight Realm. To support that statement, we go to a quote given by Midna in Twilight Princess. They were banished, they were chased across the sacred lands of Hyrule and driven into another realm by the goddesses. But how does someone enter the Twilight Realm? The only known way is to use the Mirror of Twilight in the Gerudo Desert, which is made by the goddesses. So these group of people led a mass exodus into the Gerudo Desert, and eventually to the Mirror of Twilight. However, a question still remains. Why did the Gerudo allow passage through their lands? If the Gerudo allow these Interlopers passage in their lands, then that would imply that these two groups of people have friendly relations towards each other. However, judging from the political atmosphere at that time, these Interlopers were heavily persecuted by the other races of Hyrule. If the Gerudo allowed the Interlopers passage, then that would also make the Gerudo another persecuted race. So it's not in the best interest of the Gerudo to let the Interlopers in their lands. But something changed their minds. Before I go further in this theory, let me discuss Princess Zelda for a moment. As evident in cutscenes in Ocarina of Time, the Legend of the Sacred Realm is a secret. It is a practical secret as well. Think about it, if everyone knew about the Sacred Realm, another civil war would likely to break out. Since it is considered a secret, after the war the Hylians must have erased all knowledge of the Sacred Realm in Hyrule, as evident to the fact that you can only learn about the Sacred Realm through word of mouth, and nothing in inscribed material. Only those trusted by the royal family hold this knowledge. However, the losers of the war, the Interlopers, still know of this particular knowledge, and they desperately want sanctuary. So they tell the leader of the Gerudo, Ganondorf, of all the secret knowledge of the Sacred Realm in return for safe passage. At this point, Ganondorf has learned knowledge of the Sacred Realm and is in the beginning stages of his plan to take over Hyrule. In exchange, the Interlopers were allowed safe passage and were eventually banished into the Twilight Realm. With the Interlopers' arrival into the Twilight Realm, they became safe, but transformed into another race entirely, which is the Twilight. However, the other races do not necessarily know that the Interlopers have traveled someplace else. So Ganondorf saw an opportunity. He pled with the King of Hyrule that he banish the remaining Interlopers to impress the royal family. Since the Interlopers are a hated bunch during the war, the King of Hyrule was overjoyed with the news. As a result, Ganondorf was able to be close with the royal family and pled his allegiance. Ganondorf, motivated by the knowledge given to him by the Interlopers, sprang his plan to take over Hyrule as noted in the events of Ocarina of Time. And this whole ordeal of events strikes me as the most likely conclusion on what happened during the Hyrulean Civil War. However, what happens next? Well, there are two endings to this story. In the adult timeline, Ganondorf's rule was ended thanks to the Hero of Time. And in this timeline, the Twilight are assumed to have lived in peace considering that they don't appear in any of the games in that section of the timeline. In addition, it is likely that the Mirror of Twilight is submerged by the sea. In the child timeline, however, Ganondorf's plan was found out thanks to the Hero of Time traveling back in time to warn the royal family. As a result, Ganondorf was subdued and the entire Gerudo race may have all been slaughtered or driven off due to the actions of the Hylians. During Ganondorf's failed execution, he was sealed away in the Twilight Realm by the sages. Notice that this event wasn't supposed to happen. Ganondorf was supposed to be executed, but a last-minute hasty decision was made by the sages to seal Ganondorf away in the Twilight Realm, which is a decision that will haunt the Hylian Royal family, as noted when Ganondorf, bolstered by the Twilight magic, returns in Twilight Princess, but the Hero of Twilight ends up stopping him anyways. However, in the ending of Twilight Princess, the Mirror of Twilight was destroyed. The connection between the Twilight and the Hylians were cut permanently. The Twilight, formerly the proud Sheikah race, turned rogue and was cut down. The only survivor of the lost tribe of the Sheikah is Impez, whom is likely to die of old age, bringing an end to the Sheikah race. Truly a tragic tale for a once proud people. And there you have it, folks. That is my theory, and wow, I really need to catch my breath on this one. Anyways, I had loads of fun doing this one, and I hope you really enjoyed it. Also, if you have anything to say about this theory or you have any problems with it, please comment away. For the next Zelda theory, I'm going to give you guys another decision. Comment below on which one you would like to see. a theory about how the Hylian Royal family is evil, or a theory about how the hookshot works. Comment below on which one you would like to see. Also, Zelda news is returning. Episode 15 will be arriving on November 24th. In addition, the latest Zelda theory will be arriving in the following week on December 1st. Anyways, I really hope you enjoyed my video. If you really liked it, please support my content since it really does support me. Also, I did upload my reaction towards the Majora's Mask remake, but unfortunately it was taken down by YouTube and I was hit with a strike. I'm currently not in the best of situations at the moment. However, if you really want to see it, I uploaded it on Vimeo. Link is in the description below. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you're new. I sincerely hope you are doing well, and I honestly do mean that. Till then, enjoy this ANC podcast clip.
Are in line. Can you explain the difference between Hanukkah gifts and Christmas gifts?
Hanukkah's better.
Wait,
what? Dick?
We had this conversation and he didn't say that.
There was this one guy and he was taking this girl out for a date, and it was like their first date, right? And the guy was really nervous, so he took a bunch of breath mints, but he was like overly doing with it. He took like 2 boxes of Mentos and just stuck it down his throat, and he was like, yeah, I'm ready, let's kiss. And so when he actually kissed the girl actually had a physical reaction to all the breath mints.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And then she actually had a seizure in the movie theater, and then she had to go to the hospital.
Oh my god.
It's kind of funny when you think about it. I mean,
of course it's funny to you.
People dying or almost dying makes Andy laugh.